Hello everyone, Jeff here with another update on Antilia. Quite a bit of time has passed since the last update, and I've been struggling to make a video that communicates everything without the video ending up being a half an hour or an hour long. So for the sake of getting an update video out on YouTube, I'm going to try something a little bit different this time. In this video, I'm going to do my best to summarize what's been changed and what's new in Antilia, and then I've also created a second longer video in which I run a character around the world and I demonstrate the new gameplay systems. I plan to upload that video to YouTube in a couple weeks. But for now, without any further ado, let's take a brief look at all these new gameplay features, and there is quite a bit of ground to cover here, so I'll be moving through these fairly quickly. Well, let's get started. First up, movement and acrobatics. Character movement has seen some small improvements, particularly in the way jumping and falling is calculated so as to be consistent regardless of system speed or frame rate, and the character animation has been more closely tied to the character's current speed. There is still plenty of room for improvement, however, in the way the character controls, especially on steep slopes, and I'm still missing animations and transitions when jumping. Acrobatics now has 4 skill cards available in the game which can be placed on the skill grid. The first of these cards enables sprinting. Typically, all TP characters run at the same speed to make it easier to move in groups for multiplayer, but when sprinting, a character can run faster if they're willing to spend the energy to do so, and that speed is determined by the agility attribute, which the player can increase. Similar to sprinting, there's a new skill card that enables water running. If while sprinting the character runs onto water, they will run across it so long as they have the energy and keep up their speed. However, doing so will burn through their energy faster than when sprinting across land. Currently this skill is functional, but could use a bit more polish in the form of water ripples and particles at the character's feet. And finally, a pair of skills have been added related to jumping. The first of those is high jump, which doubles the character's jump height, and the second is multi-jump, which allows the character to jump a second time while in midair. A few new things have been added to the world to make exploration a little more interesting. The simplest of these is the new information markers. These markers will be used to provide lore and historical context to areas of the world, but don't do anything interactive. Next are the exploration markers. These will be scattered across the world, and when clicked on, they'll reveal a portion of the map to the player. As a secondary function, they'll also offer a challenge to the player, which, if completed, will earn the player a bonus token. Presently, they only do the last part of that. They offer a selection of bonus tokens as soon as you click on them, but that behavior will be expanded as development continues. And then finally, there are some temporary skill card pavilions scattered across the Isle of Gasa which dispense a specific skill card. Long term, I want the skill cards to require a little more effort to obtain, possibly being at the top of a tower or hidden among some old ruins, but for now these little pavilions make the cards accessible in the game for testing. Next, let's take a look at some of the new user interfaces and the character menus. The inventory system is quite functional at this point. You can split and combine stacks of items, organize your inventory into these inventory trays, consume foods, drop items back into the world, or delete them. The pop-up that displays when hovering over items is now live, and information will update if it changes while you're viewing the item. Containers are also functioning now, and come in 2 flavors, standard containers like crates and chests, as well as open containers which render their contents into the 3D world. Currently, the cooking grill is the only of these open containers, but there are more planned that should be operational soon, such as display tables and bookcases. There hasn't been any major change to the skill grid, but there is a new Equip Skills interface that has been added to work alongside it. From the Equip Skills screen, you can drag appropriate skills onto the hotbar for use. And last up for the character menus, we have a new map screen, which is now displaying the full map of Antilia, which you can pan around and zoom in and out on. Additionally, there is also a mini-map that can be toggled on and off while running around in the game. On to the state of gathering skills. We've had collecting items from plants and other dispensers back in the game for some time already, but this update expands that with basic tree felling and mining. In the case of both of these skills, you aren't strictly required to equip anything on the skill grid. By simply equipping an axe, you can use it to chop down a tree. Or similarly, by equipping a mining pick, you can start to hit rocks and collect some stone and resources. There are, however, a pair of skill cards which reduce the energy cost when performing these actions and will improve the drops you receive. And in addition to felling trees, felling bamboo and mushrooms is also in the game now. Next up, I'd like to take a look at the new fishing system we've added to Antilia. The new fishing system is quite an upgrade compared to what we had in the MMORPG. Similar to felling trees and mining, to fish all you are required to do is equip a fishing pole and some bait. A pair of fishing-related skill cards are currently in the game. One of them improves your basic casting skill and reduces the energy cost, while the other adds the jig technique, which can be equipped to the hotbar and used to attract a different set of fish. The fishing system itself is more interactive now. You can manually aim where your lure is going to land in the water, draw the line a bit to attract more fish, and you will need to actually click the mouse button to hook a fish when you get a bite. While fishing, there's an alternate fish float cam available, which makes it a little bit easier to see what's going on, especially if you're casting really far out. The individual fish spawn of random lengths now, and the length of the fish ties into the amount of nutrients you'll get when the fish is cooked. Upon catching a fish, there's a little fanfare that displays your catch and its length. Now let's take a quick look at the state of cooking. Antilia has a whole new cooking system now, which I've been designing to be a truly creative system. It's not so much about matching a recipe as it is choosing ingredients that'll work well together and meet a flavor objective, and then using skills and workstations to refine and combine those ingredients. This system introduces a fillers and nutrient system, with skill cards available to give the player insight into what the different fillers and nutrients currently in an ingredient or food are. The goal is to reduce the fillers by removing them or converting them via cooking into nutrients. The first of these cooking workstations is now in the game, the cooking grill. The grill is paired with a simple fire pit which consumes firewood gathered from trees. Simply light the fire pit and place your fish on the cooking grill to begin cooking. Then watch the temperature, fillers, and nutrients and remove the fish when it's done cooking or it'll begin to burn. And finally, let's take a look at the state of world design. The terrain engine and editor now include an experimental overhang system. The system is a little crude and not fully functional yet, but far enough along that we can start to gauge its potential for creating interesting environments. There are a few regions of Antilia that have received a second pass or for which I've been experimenting with alternate designs. Most of the work, however, has focused on the northern and eastern sides of the Isle of Kassa. The Tangled Lands have nearly doubled in size since the last video. I believe I suggested that I wanted to expand it then. I also did an audio pass for the Tangled Lands, improved the clutter layers, added some mist effects, all of which really help it to come alive at night. Next to the Tangled Lands is an area in which the Tapey base camp set in the MMO. That particular region never really felt all that complete in the MMO. It was largely just open fields with bamboos lining the lake. After experimenting with different designs a bit, I opted to go with a style which I call the bamboo gardens. The layout is a bit different from what we had, but I believe that with a few more passes this will polish up into a pretty interesting and distinct biome. That's all for the new features, but before I wrap up, I just want to do a quick summary on what I'll be working on next. My next priority will be polishing up what we have so far and get this version downloading through the Antilia launcher. I'd like to get this in the hands of a few people and start getting feedback on the gameplay and general stability. After that, there'll be another round of gameplay development, focusing primarily on improving the appearance and functionality of our building system, and get it so that players can purchase a building and then spend wood and stone to change the building's layout and furnishings. Once that round is done, I'd like to again get it into the hands of a testing group, and for that round I'd like it to be a little larger and maybe include some members of the Antilia community. Beyond that, I have some work to do on AI pathfinding and NPC behaviors, and then after that maybe we can start looking at crafting and combat. Well, that's going to do it for this update. As I mentioned in the introduction, I have another video I've been working on in which I run a character around in the world and demonstrate a lot of these new gameplay features. Again, I'm aiming to have that up on YouTube in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked the direction that Antilia's gameplay is taking, and if you have any thoughts or questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section down below. See you next time. A special thanks goes to our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support the project, you can do so by visiting www.patreon.com/Antilia.